Alright guys, welcome back to the most amazing gaming channel in the world. Today we're going to be going over the part 2 of the magical offensive items. If you haven't already, please go follow that Twitch and Twitter down below. We've been doing some pretty great things on stream, so hopefully I will catch you. And then I do keep getting a few questions, so I'm going to try and answer a lot of them before we go on in here. Yes, I have every single god except Ratatoskr. Yes, I'm thinking about revisiting a couple gods upon request. On her is one of these gods that I had a lot of people ask me about, because I understand that it is now May 11th and the patch dropped about 3 months ago. There's been a lot of changes in 3 months. We just had a recent major one in patch 3.8. So if you do want me to revisit any other god and say, hey, will you please check this out? Ares I know is out of date at this point. Just let me know, because I am trying to get other things out and not just continuously do builds. No one wants to see new builds all the time. That's the only thing the channel does. So I think that is about everything. So let's dive on in here again. Moving on to Voidstone. This is going to be essentially a counter build item as well. It does give you some good magic protection. It does give you some good magic power. I do like picking this up if you are going to be laning with this is going to be a guardian item, I should say, but a situation in which you would want to use this would be if you do have like a Sol or a Freya or Kronos. I've seen all of those in the duo lane before. By doing that, you go in and within 55 units you reduce their magic protection by 20. This would definitely be one of your, I would say, after your starter item and your boots, if you pick this up, it's actually going to be very helpful, because right off the bat, it will reduce their magic protection by 20. 20 in the late game isn't amazing. 20 in the early game is very good. But keep in mind, if you do have a smart other team, they'll pick up Runic Shield as their second item, lowering your ADCs, for lack of kind of the role of the ADC, you guys get it. Their attack speed and everything else like that. Go watch the build if you don't know what I'm talking about. Build guide, item guide. All right, next one, Bancroft's Talent. This is very good, usually built on someone like an Anubis, because it gives you a shit ton of magic power right off the bat. It does give you some pretty decent lifesteal at 12%, and you gain 1 additional magic power per 1% of your missing health. Anubis is just a prime example of this. You don't really have any escapes. So with your back to the wall, all you can do is sit there and throw out an ability. Every time you start getting burst down, you gain 1 additional magic power. So if you all of a sudden are down to 20% life, which isn't too hard to do, you just gained 80 magic power. That's not bad. That just made that item turn into 180. So keep that in mind. It is definitely someone that, like, Anubis is just really good on it, because he does a bunch of tick damage, and everyone knows he's a severe glass cannon. So kind of keep that in mind. If you do want this, I really almost prefer this as my mage lifesteal item, just because of everything it does. This is decent, but it would be more in something like a Joust or a Siege, where you're going to be close to your allies, because otherwise it's not too incredibly great. Divine Ruin, like I said, is that counter item. Polynomicon is only built on people that are going to be building some sort of an attack speed follow-up. Don't build it on Vulcan. It is not good with Vulcan. I've tried. So there is that item. Chronos Pendant. This is going to be a very good item. I extremely like it. It gives you a really good half of your cooldown reduction is on this item. You get a shit ton of mana per 5 seconds, which will help you stay in lane longer. This is going to be picked up by your mages. You don't ever pick this up as a guardian unless you're going like damage guardian. You have 75 magic power, so it gives you a really good decent magic power as well, but this is going to be used for sustain because of the ridiculous mana per 5 seconds. I wouldn't say ridiculous, but that is really high for one item. And then going on, Pythagorean's Peace. Like I said, I would definitely pick this up more in something like Joust, because it does give you the good magic power, but the aura is what makes it good, and the aura is what makes this more expensive and the most expensive lifesteal item. You get an aura of 20 magic power to all of your allies within 70 units. That is a ton of units there. Relics, or not relics, this I believe is, 70 feet. So essentially, anyone within this entire zone of you gets 20 magic power and 10% lifesteal. That is what makes that item very, very good. But if it's not going to be good, if you only are affecting one person that doesn't even have magical power. So just kind of keep that in mind there for you. Then let's move on down to this one. Rod of Asclepius is going to be good for, well, I honestly can see this being built on Guardians if they do have someone, a Guan Yu. If you have a Guan Yu, one person could probably pick this up. Most likely your Guardian, because you're supposed to counter build and buff build. The healing and health regeneration of your allies within 70 units is increased by 25%. You throw a Guan Yu on that. It is very, very helpful because now everyone's healing of that Guan Yu, including yours, gets increased by 25%. I do want to put an asterisk. I'm 90% sure it's including yours. I could be wrong. Book of Thoth, this is going to be a very good stackable item. It does cost quite a bit there. Same with Soul Reaver, things like that. But we'll get to it in a minute. Book of Thoth is going to stack. This is going to basically, you will want to build this on someone like Cuckoo. If you're a Kukulkan and you do not build Book of Thoth, you are not paying attention to what their passives are and what items are. Book of Thoth will be extremely helpful because it converts your mana to magical power. Your max mana takes 3% of that. This is essentially Transcendence. Now you might be like, why is it good on Kukulkan? Because Kukulkan's passive turns his magic or his mana into magic power as well. So if you can double dip on that passive, this basically gives Kukulkan 2 passives. It gives you some really decent mana per 5 second. It gives you a shit ton of magic power right off the bat. And when you do have something like Book of Thoth, and the reason why I like Soul Reaver 2 is because it does give you 300 mana. That is a shit ton of mana as well as a passive. We'll get to it in a minute. But these two are usually I like building them together. But yes, Book of Thoth, very, very helpful for that reason. Only pick it up by mages. Don't do this on a Guardian. Warlock's Ash, this is going to be for people that I really like building with that don't really have escapes or are super squishy. Scylla is an example of this. Poseidon is an example of this. Sometimes Kronos, I like building this on him too, even though he does have it, but it does give you a shit ton of mana, some good health, and at the max stacks, this does give you 110 magic power, in addition to gives you an additional 300 health. That means this one item at max stacks is 110 magic power, 600 health, 400 mana. Very, very good. I like building it on people that need kind of that little bit of extra, not even protection, but if you just be squishy without it. I think I honestly might have put this on my Vulcan build, but I can't remember. 75 or 76 gods now. It gets kind of difficult. Ethereal Staff, often commonly referred to as E-Staff. This is going to want to be picked up by someone like an Amir, a Kabrakan, someone that you really just... You don't want to build this as a mage. But the reason why, even if you were to throw this on, the only time I could see this being built on, as I go and counter myself here, would be if you have something like Warlocks. Because if you max out Warlocks, like I said, it's going to give you an extra 300 health. That means that these two items together will give you 1,000 health. And then it converts 2.5% of your health to, well, magic power. They did try and nerf this. This did used to, I believe, provide more health. I believe that item gave you 600, but they realized it wasn't being used for what its purpose was for Guardians. So they nerfed it down to, let's see here. I believe it's 400? Yeah, they nerfed it down 200 health, but they increased the scaling to 2.5 compared to just 2. If you look at that, you add another 300 health onto that. That's, 2,800. You're going to have 2,800 health and mana, and you can take 6% of 2,800, and that's your extra, damage there. You look at it, it's nothing incredibly amazing, but it's up there. And you're going to have quite a bit of survivability as a Giannis with 2,800 health. Not bad, especially with 730. If you activate Frenzy, now all of a sudden that goes up to 847. Not bad. So if you ever build E-Staff on a mage, you have to follow it up with Warlocks or you are wasting an item slot. Gem of Iso, this is going to be good for Well, people that almost have tick damage. Xing Qin is an example of this. Sometimes I did build it on my Sylvanas, a Khepri. These are good things for it. I know some people build it on an Anubis. They build Gem of Iso on Anubis. They build Gem of Iso on a Poseidon. Things like that. So this is going to be more... I mean, it does give you decent health and mana. It gives you the decent magic power as well. But the thing that makes it really good is that it basically acts as a Frostbound Hammer for mages. They move slower for 2 seconds compared to only the 1.25, but essentially this is Frostbound Hammer for mages. Soul Reaver is incredibly good, especially when paired up with Book of Thoth. The reason why is because, let me just hover back on over here just to make it easier for you guys. When a god takes damage from your abilities, it only happens once every 16 seconds, but they take an additional 15% of their max health. What makes this incredibly good is you can literally pair it up with a 1 and 2 with Giannis, and you can kill almost anyone that is not a tank, warriors included, as long as you have them paired up. Because you sit there, you can drop that, and I missed the 2, but it's ridiculous the amount of damage you can do with this. So Soul Reaver, very, very good. I would do more for mages that just want that extra burst damage. Scylla isn't bad. Things like that. Rod of Tahuti, this should be picked up by mages as well. Only mages, unless you're Kabrakan, you can pick up Soul Reaver. Kabrakan is just really good kind of hybrid player there. But Rod of Tahuti, this is a mage item. If you are not a mage in this, or if you are a mage and you do not pick this up, something you don't know items, which is why you're watching this. But Rod of Tahuti is amazing. It's 125 magic power, which is ridiculously good. I believe it's the highest singular magic power item, minus or Book of Thoth, because the passive on Book of Thoth usually will push you past that. I mean, you guys see right there, 3% of 295 is probably, or 2,000 is probably a little bit more than 25. So Rod of Tahuti is very, very good because it increases your, passive, your complete magic power by 25%. I mean, you guys were looking at the build. I'm just like showing you guys kind of the direct comparison. You have 736. Say that you come on down here, you get rid of Rod of Tahuti, throw on Gem of Iso. You lose a lot of power. So it is a necessity on any mage to always have Rod of Tahuti. And then the last one we will go over is Spear of Deso. This is a horrible item. Do not buy it. Ever. Understand, I put it in a few of my builds, and I hate myself for it. The odds of you ever spending 4,000 gold on one item in a game is not worth it. Especially when you are going to be picking this up as a mage. A mage that has relatively low cooldowns, like a Ra, that has a high kill potential. If you want to get this, I would say you'd have to get it on someone like a Ra or possibly a Scylla. Damaging enemies, or it just isn't good. The passive is decent, but for 3.8k gold, especially when you have to pair that up with Rod of Tahuti because you would be a mage, that is what, 7,120 gold for 2 items? Hell, that's like half a build for some people. That might even be their first 4 items if you're a Guardian going with like little shorter builds. And it only gives you 120 magic power. Yes, that's good. The magic pen is decent as well, but honestly, why would you spend 3.8k gold on 20 magic pen and some decent damage when you could spend 2,100, basically 1,700 or 1,600 less, and you can get your 15 pen there? Obshard gives you 33 magic pen too. It's just not that great. Even you might be like, well, the passive is decent there, Dragon. It really isn't as well. Because it can only happen once every 30 seconds. The only way to make this balanced and keep the gold that high would be if they actually took down the activate more than once every 30 seconds. Then it would be worth it. But otherwise, it just is not a good item. Do not build it. Sorry for having this video go on a little bit long, but thank you guys so much. Hopefully you guys enjoying this. If you are, please give it a like, comment, subscribe, and until the next time, have yourself a fucking amazing life.